Hey everybody, welcome to another video on discussing the tact method on how we can restore our horse's feet with a new horse today called Faulkan. He's owned by Lee. Lee is brand new to tact. She just kind of stumbled upon us just by chance, and we are so excited to have her. This is her horse when he was 2. He's 13 now, and this is when he was 2. And I want to show you where he started from when he was 2. The suspension in that trot is just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Let's watch just that part again. I mean, he's reaching, he is bending his hocks. He's obviously very relaxed and comfortable in this video, right? Here he is free jumping in 2010. Pretty amazing, huh? What a gorgeous horse. So talented. And that's why Lee bought him, because he was so talented and she wanted to jump him and compete in jumping with him. And she sent him to Florida for some training. And he came back and she said she was devastated. His feet looked like, I'll show you. They look like that. Well, that's, I think, a recent picture of it. That's improved upon. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think that one is right when he came back. He was like just horribly maimed by the tremors, and he was unrideable. He lost all his suspension. He's in a ton of pain. It's just horrendous. Just horrendous. This doesn't have to happen. So you can tell by the back of his feet right here, those heels are just pulled down and under. And look at the hairline, straight down. Those heel bulbs are way down on the ground. They should be like way up here. And this deep groove behind the two bulbs, that means that everything is really contracted down inside the back of the foot. As we learned from Linda's wild horse neighbor, that when heels have never been contracted, the bulbs are almost straight between each bulb. They don't dive way in and dive way out again like a big W like these are. So we're going to talk about what he needs to get back restored and go through some photos and analyze where she can go from here with him, because she would like to be able to understand tact better and make sure that we're both on the same page with what he needs, and maybe she can give us information to her tremor as well. So we're going to just take it away and see what we can do. The first thing I would say is, I think I have some bigger pictures. So let me just go to those. Yeah, I want to start with this closer up picture here down more at ground level. So we can see the heels have been greatly, it's weird. It looks like they're trimmed out on this foot and not on this foot. But That's weird. I'll have to analyze that and see Lee in person if his feet are uneven, if they're not the same from side to side. This one here looks like it has some heel on it. That one looks like it has no heel on it. So that's kind of interesting. What I wanted to talk about was the lines that go around the hoof, the horizontal laminar and or laminae, and what they're doing with him here is most of the time we see jamming going on here in this area, and we see the lines going up in the pillars. But in your horse's case, his lines actually jam up in the quarters. So let's discuss why that's happening. So they're going around like this, and then up they go, right like that. So the vertical lines are more slanted on the side than they are in the front. So they're supposed to be at the same angle all the way down the whole side of the hoof, but the back lines you can see are going more slanted, so they're meeting up with the front lines. And so right here above where these lines are real slanted is where you have a jamming up happening where the line goes up. So what that means is this area has more than likely been left too long for a little while, and so that causes the hoof wall to jam up right here. And this also stops this area from being able to move back, and we want the foot to be able to move back. So what happened is somebody probably chopped his heels out and then left his toes too long, which you and I were discussing before that actually happened. That is, when I looked at his other pictures, his toes are way too long and his heels were like gone. So looked like, I always think of that as like when you have to wear a pair of clown shoes and you're walking with your foot in a really weird position all day long because your toes are so long with your clown shoes on, right? That makes you walk in a funky position. So she's been restoring him already at this point in these photos. So her trimmer's been taking the toe back and trying to rehab the foot. So he's not as bad as he was before. So this is probably still some residual. The foot, well, for sure this side here, definitely we need to address what's going on with the heel length, and I'm sure there are false heels at this point anyway, because the real heel is curved around, bound underneath the foot, and hasn't come all the way out yet, which is why you can't grow a true heel yet. So we're going to discuss how you can do both of those things and help this foot to get back to its normal size and its normal proportions. So pay attention to this jamming right here. Whenever you see jamming, that usually means it's the spot right below it's been left too long. But it can also mean that the foot's arched on the inside. When you get this kind of jamming like this in the back of the foot, this can also mean that the foot is bound up. And so the inner anatomy is being pushed up and back down again. So that can also be an indication of that, or both going on at the same time. So I always look for what I call leverage points, though. When I see a line that's going up on the side of the foot, I do follow it down to the ground and see if there is a leverage point that's stopping this foot from being able to straighten up, because we want these lines to move back. These vertical lines, we want the end of this line to move back so that it's more like from here down to about here versus from here way up over to here. We want it to move back about a ½ inch. That means this foot here has to expand backward. The hoof capsule's been trimmed out too small, and the back has been trimmed out, so everything had to smush forward. And then the toes were left too long, so where's the hoof wall going to go? It's going to collapse forward. So now we have to recoup that and make everything straighten up again. So pay real close attention to this part of the hoof when I see that somebody's already been beveling that and done a fairly good job of getting that back into check. We can see with this picture here that he's still got this curvy line right here, right? And he's looks like he's standing back on a heel that's not level and straight like it's supposed to be. So the heel is collapsed forward. It could be because it's too short. Like this side is really bad. This side really goes straight down. Just straight down. And we don't want that hairline in the back to go down to the ground. We don't want those bulbs on the ground. Show you. Okay, here's Faulkan's heel currently on the left. And here's attacked member Judy Miller's foot on the right. I got for comparison. You see how those bulbs are on the ground. On the ground. Not good. They're supposed to be like this on this side. And I don't know if this is even up all the way yet. I don't think it is. But because she's still restoring the back of this foot. And look at how much better it is already compared to Faulkan's. So we need these bulbs to lift up. And when that happens, the digital cushion inside the foot is going to also move up and back. So then the cushioning under the navicular bone will be in the proper place. And then what happens? We get suspension back. You're going to ask yourself, how do we get that? How do we get from here to here? Well, we got to do a lot of stuff all at once. We do a lot of stuff all at once. First of all, if this horse has no heel, with that hairline coming right down, and this heel is supposed to be up like here. You know, like, look at this. Top of the hairline on Judy's horse, way up here. And it stays up there, right? And it curls into the heel. Yours is way, let's see, like this whole part is down on the ground. This whole thing is way down here in Faulkan. No wonder he can't walk right, because none of his anatomy is in the right spot on the inside of the foot. How do you get from here to here? Well, first of all, we got to grow some heels. You got to get some heels that are right on this foot. And once you get some heel growing, even if it's not the true buttress yet, if it's a false buttress that's coming down, you know, if you've got something vertical starting to grow down, like this horse over here, it's got something vertical growing down here. Then you can start opening up this part of the foot and this part of the foot here on Faulkan, and you can start helping these bulbs to go to where they're supposed to go. But for now, with him, we would want to be very careful about doing too much at once, because the heels can collapse right down like this again if too much is done too soon all at once. So the first thing we want to do, according to Linda's latest research, is to get some heels of some sort growing. And then we'll map those out to from the hairline to the top of the buttress, 2 inches, and 1 inch from the collateral groove, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch of depth from the collateral groove to the top of the buttresses. And we'll take a look at these from other angles as well. And once you can get to that area, then you can start looking at what you should be doing with the other stuff. But let's look at the sole shots. Okay, here's 2 different sole views. They weren't really official, so it's what we have to work with right now. Lee will get us some better pictures for a part 2 video. This was a freeze frame from a video she was taking to show me something on the sole. And then this is a sole shot that she took just quickly picking up his foot. So let's discuss. Okay, so buttress wall right there. Well, right there, I don't really see anything. Like, depth-wise, from there to there, like, I don't see anything. But guess what I do see? I see some really thick periopal skin. You know why? Because the back of the foot grows really thick periopal skin when it has to hold the hoof capsule onto the leg. So what they were doing with leaving his toes so long and taking his heels off was basically creating so much leverage that the hoof capsule was starting to come off in the back. So it grows really, really thick because the anatomy that's supposed to be there is not there anymore. It gets pulled underneath the frog, down inside the foot. And so because nothing's there that's supposed to be there, the foot starts medicating itself and growing really thick skin. So it just closes everything up and makes like Fort Knox. And so we've got to get that all opened up again and get some heels on him. So I need to get some better data from you on the heel height because I don't know that yet. We'll analyze that. You can get back to me on that. But let's just say he doesn't have any yet and he's growing some, okay? He's probably got to grow some. And in the meantime, he's got prolific frogs that are definitely okay. Everything on the whole under part of the foot will hold the foot in its place if it's not kept movable. You really can't leave anything. It's like you can't skip the apex of the frog, you can't skip the frog, you can't skip the bars, you can't skip the sole. Because if you do, you'll get compacted sole, and that will hold everything in place. You get dead compacted sole, and you can see he has a lot of dead compacted sole. A lot of dead compacted sole. And so you want to scrape that down. I recommend an EVO bar and sole rasp. I love mine. It works really great on the bars, and it works really great to get the hard part of the sole off so you can get down to what you can describe easily with your knife when it's soft out. You can see he's got a crack right there in the front of his foot too, and that's from having too much leverage in the toe. So you're going to want to scrape all that down, and I'll show you how much to take off. Here is what Linda does to Valor. You can see how much sole she takes off. It's nice and smooth. All the compacted sole is gone. It's live sole. The whole thing's live sole. Isn't that pretty? She does such a good job. Everything's always so neat and tidy. And her pictures, the feet are always so clean. I wish I could get my horse's feet that nice and clean, so all the time for my pictures. But yeah, my horse is kind of in a out in the boonies, so I don't have any concrete. I try to do a nice flat surface for my rubber mat, and it's over a piece of plywood, and that just falls down when the horse stands on it anyway. And I don't have running water, so it's kind of hard for me sometimes to get what I want to get. But anyway, okay, bars. Her bars are all trimmed nicely back, and you can see there's absolutely not one piece of compacted sole. And this is how much frog she takes out too. Just to get you an idea, you're wondering how much frog to take out and what the frog will look like when you get to what you're done taking out. That's the live frog where it looks lighter and more clear. It'll start to look clear. And so that's what it looks like, because you were just asking me how much frog to take off. Okay, let's go back to your foot. Okie dokie, so you've got a lot of sole that you can take off, and the bars, who knows what's going on with those underneath all this here. Trying to see here. I don't even see your bars, like, definitively. So let's get going on identifying the parts of your sole, okay? Let's get in there, clean it up, check out what's going on. Your bars could be all the way to here. And these two spots here can cause a lot of pain to the inner foot of the horse if they're not kept smooth. So make sure you keep those things smooth. And the bars are probably way out to here. If you have a big flap of bar and not a nice straight line, because you're probably going to have a big flap of bar, you're going to have to really work on getting those off. And we can discuss that more in person. And your frog, well, I would start by giving him a central sulcus. Like, he's got a little spot here. If it were me, I'd probably cut this whole flap out right now. See that little triangular spot right there? I would cut that out. Trim it up is what I would do. And I would not do a lot with this until he gets some foot growing down. And there's a tact member that I got to show you this. It's amazing. Oh, sorry, I had left it recording for all of that. Well, that's great. Well, you guys got to follow me along for that. My sound was off for some reason, and I didn't hear that it said I wasn't paused recording. So, this is what I want to show you of the periopal skin, real thick on the back of this horse and how closed up the heels are, right? And then she filed the periopal skin with a small file, and look what happened. Wow, that's just amazing. Starting to open up and really breathe again, right? So that's something we can look at doing after we know for sure that we have some stability with the heels. Got to make sure we have enough heel. First of all, before we start anything like. Okay, so for your guy, what I would do is I would trim back the frog till you see the live frog. You go to this apex of the frog, and you're going to want to trim the apex of the frog back until you see where it attaches to the sole for realsies. Because many times it overgrows its attachment, and that will freeze the frog from moving back. So you take a little off, and you determine where does that frog attach to the sole, and that's where the apex of the frog is as well. And that's where you start measuring from. Once you find the true apex of the frog, then you measure from there out to the tip of the toe 1.5 more inches, and it's 2 inches total with the whole width of the hoof wall. But you make a line 1.5 inches out, you map across, and you bevel back to that line. So this mapping protocol is used based on the true apex of the frog. And you got to make sure you watch the mapping video soon so you can see how to map the foot. So that's what I would start with, of course, cleaning everything up and checking in with your, this is probably a big flap of bar right here, actually, now that I'm looking at that. So, and you've probably got some hooded heels going on right here, like I call that, where the heel buttress gets kind of curved forward. And you're going to want to carve that out with your hoof knife and get that nice and flat, and then do a little, maybe a little flat topping with your rasp to keep the heel straight and up and down as much as you can, as vertical as you can, because when the horse walks on it, it can kind of curve forward and under. And then that just keeps all those side laminae slanting down and forward towards those pillars. So looks like he's got a little too much going on here too, hoof wall wise. That's going to be creating some leverage in the front of the foot. So once you map it, you'll be able to see how much you take off there. And I recommend you watch my string mapping video on my YouTube page on how to know how much to take off between the pillar and the heel. You know what? I didn't see this picture until just now as well. So let me get these other pictures up. Thank you. Okay. I'm talking to the computer now. All right. So as you can see here, my suspicion, I think, is correct. I don't see much buttress going on at all right here. I don't see nothing. And if you put a plate across, or a straight edge across the top of this, your frog would be the highest point, and the buttresses would be way below that, from what I can see here. So yeah, we got to grow something here, grow something there, for sure. So that'll be very interesting to start that journey with you. And then you can see this line is like, whoa, straight up and straight up into the middle of the frog, because the heels have been taken off. All these farriers out there are trimming the buttresses straight to the widest part of the frog. They just take it down, take it down, take it down, take it down, take it down. And over time, the capsule gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And we got to get all this stuff out of here that's all crunched up inside this heel. But we first have to grow some buttresses so that he has some stability. So in the meantime, you're just going to want to help this not push these buttresses too far forward. So I will trim out this big thick part of the frog here the big thick part of the frog here next to the buttresses, I'll kind of cut that out and give the buttresses some breathing room so I can encourage some new buttress to grow in and grow out from the inner foot. And then, like I said, that big flap, I would probably take that out as well, but I would leave this skin as is until you get some buttress. I thought this view was quite interesting because what I saw was that the circumference of the foot at the top of the capsule is being also constricted in size because of how much is pulled down and under in the back. That's just a guess. I could be totally wrong on that, but it just looks like it is to me. It's so much smaller here than it is at the base. Now, it could just also be because there's too much hoof wall down at the base as well. So we'll, without mapping numbers, I can't tell you for sure, but I guarantee you probably have more toe still than what you want on there. And then a little too much here and here probably, which can be creating leverage. So you're going to want to map this. And he's 18 hands. He's a big boy. So we, as far as the distance goes from here to here, you have to see how much larger his feet are than a regular size horse. So for my horses, I've trimmed about 4 different horses right now, 4 or 5 different horses over the summer, and I do them all from here, from the hairline to the tip of the toe at 3 inches, because Linda says hairline to the ground is 3.5 inches, and I never have solid ground to measure on. I'm always on the ground, like dirt outside on the dirt. So, and like I said, if I am on a rubber mat, it sinks in underneath the foot. So I started doing 3 inches from hairline to tip of toe, and that's worked really well for me and the horses I've been doing. And they're all different sizes, but it works for all of them. But with him being so big, maybe you want to go just see where he's at. If 3, I'd maybe go with 3.5 or 3.25 from the hairline to the tip of the toe. Unless you want to go to the ground, you've got a nice rubber mat, so you can put your ruler to the rubber mat and get a 3.5-inch mark and see how that looks to you. But you're going to need to find his perfect length and see what that is with a little experimentation. Then once you get that, you'll be able to trim to that consistently, and that will take off if there's a lot extra on the front there. That will take care of that problem. I also noticed this on one of his back feet, so I freeze framed it. It's kind of small, but I was just freeze framing another picture. So, okay, do you guys see what I see? I see that the foot's really long on this side and really short on this side, and that's not good. That is not going to help his bones line up right at all. So, and you can see there's a bulge right there, right? What's the bulge telling you? It's telling you there's too much hoof wall. When it bulges out, it's gotten too long. It has nowhere to go but jamming up, forcing the hairline up, and jamming out, forcing a big flare. So that's pretty much telling you right there. Yeah, take that other side down. And so you're going to measure this, we'll map it out, see what's going on, see what you got here for length. You got a nice flare out here, and it's real constricted here too, right? So, yeah, this could be a problem where the foot's kind of constricted around the top because the heels are so pulled down and under. So we've got to discuss that as well. But I would definitely be evening that up. And I know with my horses, the back feet get uneven. They can. My mare her back feet used to get uneven really quickly. And I had to really be up on them because if I let them go uneven for even like 4 or 5 days, she would start to get sore. And I would see her resting her hocks. But if I kept her feet short, especially her toes on her back feet, she would be so much happier. She'd be fine, actually. It was a huge difference just on keeping up on those back feet. They are so much more important than people realize. So you're going to want to find out what the heck's going on with that. And if it's just a weird camera angle, or not, but it looked to me like the foot was very uneven. I wanted to show you this as well. This is Judy Miller's horse. She's also a TAC member. And this is what was going on when a farrier was doing her horse's feet, which is just a travesty, just a complete travesty. And I wanted to show you, it's a little bit like what's going on with the back of Faulkan's feet, because I told you like those lamini lines, right? Like to see the angle they're at the toe, and then her foot goes up more towards the middle than yours does. Yours goes up, yours got a jamming line more back here, because hers is really severely bound up. This heel is just down on the ground and slanted forward, which is causing all the inner anatomy just to be smushed up inside. It's just unbelievable. And I wanted to show you how much better it looks now. This was January of 2022, so it's a year and 3/4 later, and look how much better that foot looks today. So that's amazing work, just amazing work. And I wanted just to show you kind of what the transition is going to be for Faulkan's feet. The next thing she's working on is getting these heels to stand up. And but she's really done a lot. Look at the difference in the line. The angle of that line is already improved greatly. See how it's down to here, but here it's like at what, several degree more of an angle, and there's just nothing between this and the toe. And now there's quite a bit more hoof wall there in between the toe and that black line. It's just really, really good job. So this is kind of what we're going to be doing with Faulkan, is getting the back of that foot restored properly to its original capsule size. And that way the anatomy can settle back down inside the foot, and the digital cushion can go back to its proper spot underneath the coffin bone. And speaking of that, let's look at the x-ray. Okay, I really need Linda when it comes to x-rays. I am not an x-ray guru at all. But one thing I did notice, I thought this was 2 different pictures, but now it looks like it's the same picture twice. Yeah, it's the same picture twice. Hold on. Okay, I do not know much when it comes to looking at x-rays. I am not good at it. If it's not my own horse, I mean, I did notice some things about my own horse after re-looking at her x-rays this summer from when she got them taken in 2016. I noticed some stuff I didn't notice before. But with your horse, I couldn't tell you. Except for, I will tell you one thing. The angle of this coffin bone is not supposed to be even with the ground. Now, is that the coffin bone or is that the coffin bone? So, if that's the coffin bone, that is not the right angle, because it is not supposed to be parallel with the ground. And of course, that's what a lot of people think. They think it's supposed to be parallel with the ground, and they really make a big deal about that. And we have learned through dissections, Linda has learned that that is absolutely incorrect information. And I think I can find you a picture of an anatomically correct x-ray. Let me see. Okay, here is my uneducated x-ray analysis for you. But the one thing I noticed was that the coffin bone angle did not look right at all to me. And I could be totally wrong on that. But this one is the correct, this is an more anatomically correct x-ray right here. They were analyzing it in the TAC group in 2018. I found a post where they were talking about this foot. This is a wild horse foot. And they were talking about how this part, the yellow lines, the yellow dots that go up, need to be back behind the coffin bone. And your little yellow lines that go up are back behind the coffin bone. But look at how much space is between. Now, this part is way up here. Yellow lines down here. This part's way up here. Yellow lines down here. So the angle, I think it's a little dropped in the back. I mean, doesn't it look like it comes down more compared to this foot, right? And I think that's because the heels are lowered. So once you get a proper heel and this is lifted up more, then that should help this tilt up a little bit more in the back, and that's going to put it back in the right spot. Now, I'm just guessing on all this. I need to have Linda analyze it and tell me more. But because the angle of this foot might be a tiny bit different than this angle at the x-ray, because you see how the leg bone's going back here, and this leg bone's going up. So that could be some differences going on there, but I definitely see some differences here between this coming up here being right by this back part, and I'm not sure what this back part is. And then here's the coffin bone. It just looks to me like it's down right in here versus this one, and that makes total sense. And this is all, see how the heel is way down underneath the bulb, and the heel way down underneath the foot, and that's not happening in this one here. So we're definitely going to see some of that happening with the back of the foot because it's completely been decimated. Okay, let's end on just a full body picture of beautiful Faulkan. He's hanging out. This is a recent photo of him. He's doing much better, but he has a long ways to go. And the thing that I noticed when I saw this picture, a couple of things. First of all, I really noticed those same lines in the quarters jumping out to me, coming up right there. And, obviously it's because he's missing part of the back of his foot because somebody chopped it off. So he's got to get that back again. So the poor guy's, he's standing on shoes that are like us, being forced to wear a size 5 shoe all the time when we're actually a size 7. So the other thing I really noticed was the straightness of his fetlocks. And I don't know if that is something that's normal or not, but it makes sense that they would be kind of straight, right? Because if your foot has to compensate for not being trimmed right and your heel is lowered, that could definitely make him straighten out his fetlock joints. So it could just be how he's standing right there. It's only one still shot, but I would tell you, Lee, to just kind of keep an eye on that fetlock. What I noticed on him is he has these long fetlocks that just amaze me. And I think that that's what gave him all that suspension in that video. And I think it's one of his gifts. And I can see like this one looks like it's bending back a little bit more. This one's just a little straighter. But I would be interested to see if those fetlock angles are going to improve a little bit or change at all when that foot gets better. Because think about it, if the back of the foot is down, that's going to stretch. The fetlock has to stretch in order to compensate for that. So as the heel comes back up again, then the fetlock's going to be able to be angled more. And that's going to make him a lot more comfortable. It's going to give him back his suspension. So I'm really excited to see how that comes about. And if we can really see some major improvements with this whole area of the foot as he gets his heel back and we expand what is now sucked down inside the foot. And then be real careful about leaving too much. I know that you've been really conservative because you don't want to make him, and that can be fine because if he's bound up, that's not good either. If he doesn't have any back of his foot and you're taking all the toe off, that can cause the foot to get bound in the inside and cause a ton of pain. But at the same time, this also creates leverage as he's walking. And so you have to be really careful about the fine balance between taking enough off that he doesn't have a lot of leverage happening or taking too much off that he would be bound up. But if it were me, I would be very much paying attention to the leverage issue right now. And because he was left with too much toe for so long, and not enough heel, that is something I would want to alleviate as soon as possible for him. So this area right here where that light stripe is, and right behind there, that's a key spot to not leave too long. And on the sole shot, I saw it looked like there was definitely a little something you could take off there. And so with my string mapping video, you'll be able to see how to map this part after you learn how to do tack mapping. You'll see your spot. You'll mark your spot here to trim, and you'll mark your 2-inch heel spot, or where you're going to trim your heels to for that day, or where they're going to be that you're going to leave them for that day, depending on what you're doing. But I always make a little flat top, even if I don't take anything off the heels. And then you're going to draw a line from here to there, and then that's where you're going to file along the side. So I think you probably got a little bit you could take off right in through here, which can help because you see a little dish out happening right here with the foot. You got to make sure that you don't have too much of this dishing out and forward because there's been too much left here for a while before this. So you guys can get on that as well. So hopefully that gives you a lot of stuff to start with for him, and you can get us some progress shots, and we can do another video soon. All right, that concludes this video. Thank you, everybody.